I'm making this video to demonstrate how I put together my little books. Today we'll be doing the Count of Monte Cristo, mostly because I already had the cover for that one printed. I could have also gone with Killer Crabs or The Battle on Venus, but we're gonna go with Monte Cristo. Normally on my own documents when I print this out, there's a whole lot crammed into as many cells on the table as I can manage. This is not the case with the document that I shared because visually, unless you know how this is formatted yourself, it's kind of confusing. The document that I shared includes the inside text and the cover art for Dracula, Robinson Crusoe, the first Doc Savage adventure, and the Martian Chronicles. As you guys can see, I really enjoy using these little binder clips to keep things organized. They come in handy later on too, you'll see. Alright, this is not exactly a professional video, so the lighting is going to be a little touch and go, but I think you'll be able to make out the basics. So here I've already got this 4x3 cell printed out. The two columns make up the two layers of the pages. So first thing I'm going to do is cut right down the middle here. These right angle cut things, I forget what these things are called, are very handy. Just like keep in mind when you do this yourself that although this thing allows you to print at or cut at a right angle, that sometimes the cells themselves on the page won't actually print at exactly a right angle, so just keep your eyes on the lines. They're really faded because I don't want them to be like really dark on the edges of the pages that I cut out, but you should be able to make them out. Okay, so now we're going to cut here and here. This is the title page up at the top. Alright, so keeping them in order with the front side still facing up, that's really handy. You take the title page and you fold it in. Get it as like neat as you can, facing front. Next. Alright, so you take the bottom row from that column and you put it inside the fold of the middle row from that column. Then you put those two inside the top. And there you have the first layer of your pages for the Count of Monte Cristo. Let's see here. You can see here with Dune that it has two such layers on the inside. This is the one that you just saw me cut out. Sorry for the camera. Again, this is not like a professional video. This is just to give you guys an idea. Alright, now we're going to take this second column and we're going to cut here and here. If you lose track of which side is the front of the page that you printed and which is the back, you can always refer back to the digital copy and you can see that this is the front side. So just cut, that's the top, cut, that's the bottom, that's the middle, fold the top. Usually while I'm doing this by myself, I like to have an audiobook playing. There we go. And there we go. Right now I'm listening to Superpowered's Book 4 by Drew Hayes. Alright, so this is the bottom, this is the middle, slip inside, here's the top, slip inside, and there we go. All the pages are in the right order. And so there we've got our first column and our second. Alright, so we take the cover and we want to create a crease. Here you can see it's not perfectly in half because we want to give a spine, so then other side, again not perfectly in half. And there is our book spine. Okay, so for this next part you're going to need a safety pin or something along those lines, like a needle. And I mentioned those binder clips are really handy. So you can see I have just one side of these pages clipped so that I can open and close it. Same case for the other column. There we go. So I'm going to take this, well, in a sec. First I'm going to put these in together and I'm going to clip them both like that. So this is still here to differentiate, you know, the pages, but keeping it all together on one side can make things a little cleaner. It's not going to come out perfect. This is the second time I've filmed this part. But so you take this and you poke a hole on one edge. Do that on the other edge. And then you do the same thing twice more, closer to the middle. There we go. And so I've got, let's see, yep, that's right side up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. And thanks to these little fancy binder clips, I still know which is which. Now there's different ways to poke holes in the spine, but I like to poke from the outside in just because it looks a little neater. I like to take one of these and just kind of line it up. Let's see. And so that way I can see how the spacing is, and I can just use that as a guide and poke 2 rows. There. And so it's not going to be perfect, but that more or less lines up with the spacing for how these went. So for this next part, you're going to need a needle and thread. This thread color is just kind of a beige. It's not white, it's not black, it's just kind of beige because I feel like that will more or less fit with the brown cover. And so I'm going to set that aside for now, and I'm going to take this title page of rows. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go inside that bottom hole that we poked. See that? And I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail there sticking out. Try not to pull that all the way through as you go forward. And then I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to poke through from the inside that second hole. Good. And again, try not to pull your tail. Now, matching that, I'm going to go through that corresponding hole. It's the second one in from the bottom, closest to the front of the cover. Good. Again, don't lose your tail. At this point in the process, it might help if you take this off and slip it back on to hold the pages to the cover. Let's see here. So at that point, I go inside like that Did I lose my tail? Yes, I did. I lost my tail. In fact, I pulled it all the way through. That happens. In fact, in retrospect, it might be easiest to just clip that together to start with, and then in. There's my tail. There we go. So then I'm that far, so I go in through the top pages, and through that top. So at this point, I can pull the thread pretty tight so that these are right on, and then I take the binder clip and I clip like that, and that keeps this layer of pages out of the way. So now I go through into that second row, and I grab the second bunch of pages and I go through the top of that. And then I go through the next one into that second hole down. There we go. And then in that one, in that bottom, and out. Alright, at this point I can lose that clip. Pull this pretty tight. Now at this point I'm going to go inside that last one that I have not touched yet. That is the bottom hole nearest the cover. I go inside that. I do not go inside any more pages, and that is where we left our tail. So I'm going to set the needle aside, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure the thread is fairly tight. I may or may not just toss that other binder clip, get it out of the way. And this long edge is coming in from the outside. This shorter tail is coming out from the bottom of the first row of pages, and we're just going to tie that into a knot. Pull it nice and tight, but not so tight. Remember, it's just paper. You can double knot it, you can triple knot it, whatever you're happiest with. I like to at least triple knot it. Perfect. Alright, so from here is where the clear nail polish is going to come in. I'm going to get a hold of this thread, spread the pages nice, and I'm going to touch that knot with just a little bit of nail polish. And then I use my teeny tiny scissors and I cut the thread. There we go. So it looks a little stained right now, but it won't really look that way once the polish dries. And just for good measure, I like to run a little touch up, just a nice layer of clear nail polish down the middle, and that strengthens the little bits of thread between the pages. After that, I close the book and I run some clear nail polish down the cover, down the spine specifically. So I don't know if you know that trick where if you have a hole in your tights or in your pantyhose, you can put a drop of clear nail polish around the inside of that hole, and it prevents the hole from running down your pantyhose and spreading. basically it's the same principle here. This will harden your thread and prevent it from fraying. After that, I take a binder clip and I clip it closed, and I just set it out to dry. And there you go. That's my technique for making all of my little books. As you can see, I've got a lot of them, and this is just my home collection. This entire project began as a Valentine's gift for my boyfriend. This monster is the one I've been making for him, and I finally finished it. It's not perfect, but he has a copy of every single book I have made so far. And I'm not sure it'll fill all of these shelves yet, but pretty close. These are just the extras I've accumulated and the ones I still need to finish. Different people are going to have their own preferred techniques on how to do the binding. Some people aren't really going to like how the thread shows on the outside. I personally don't mind it. I've never been very good at using glue for this kind of thing. Hot glue or whatever kind, it always seems to just get messy and leave things looking unfinished. That's just me though. I prefer hand sewing these things in and just sealing them with a little bit of nail polish or something. And I think it makes them pretty sturdy. The pages aren't going to come loose anytime soon, not unless you tear the whole book apart. Some of these scans I found online, some of them I did myself. The Hitchhiker's Guide you can see here, I borrowed my boyfriend's copy, and that's why on the cover it has this little price tag on it, now back at Orbit or whatever, from the bookstore he likes to go to around here. So yeah, sometimes I get the covers by scanning them myself. This is my printer. It's an HP Envy. It's nothing too special, but it does the job. It's not new by any means, even if it still has the sticker on it. I left it in a box somewhere in storage for years and forgot I had it, and then remembered I had it, and it's been doing the job.